took that on, really didn't get trained very well, just got thrown in. Man, I learned the hard way. It was brutal, but I learned that got me into commercial construction. And then in March of 2020, again, weird, like great timing, I started my company. I just kind of built it in 2020, but I actually I ran and built my company and worked that other job till April of 22. So, and at that point, I'm like, I physically cannot do this anymore. It's so much. So then I stepped fully into my company, and here I am.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the Audacious Living podcast, where our goal is to inspire and empower our listeners to live their best audacious lives ever. I'm totally thrilled to have you with us today and taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us on a journey of growth and personal development. Now, life is like a construction site full of challenges and obstacles that we've got to kind of navigate to build the foundation of our dreams. Just like Chelsea Husum, who faced adversity and challenges in the construction industry, we too can overcome obstacles with determination and resilience. Chelsea Husum is a passionate entrepreneur and owner of a construction company based in Denver, Colorado, with a background in broadcast journalism and education. Chelsea's journey of resilience and determination has led her to where she is today, inspiring others with her very powerful story of overcoming obstacles and achieving success. Now, in this episode, Chelsea will dive deep into and share her inspiring journey of starting a construction company, facing challenges, and finding success through the process of perseverance and hard work. Our story serves as a reminder that with determination and a positive mindset, we can overcome any obstacle that is placed in our path. So now that we've got the table set and you're ready to go, here's our chat with Chelsea. Enjoy. Hey, Chelsea, thank you for joining me here today on the Audacious Living podcast. I appreciate making the time like this.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I know it's great. I think it's fantastic that we're able to engage in conversations and finding ways that we can encourage individuals to live this best audacious life that we talk about. One of the keys in understanding, this whole concept is also understanding the fact that there will be obstacles and challenges, and we will be faced and tested, and it's incumbent on us to continue to find ways to push through to get to the other side of the greatness that lies ahead of us. So as a starting point, maybe we can get you to describe a little bit your work. I know you certainly in the sort of working as a female in the construction industry, you face your own fair share of adversity and challenges. And so, yeah, maybe we'd open the floor and let you start there by telling us a little bit about you and what brought you to this point.
Yeah, so my name's Chelsea Husum. I live near Denver, Colorado. I own and operate a construction company here. We do core drilling and ground penetrating radar. So more or less, we do concrete scanning for safety, and then we cut these circular holes in the floor wall for mechanical or electrical companies or different construction companies to come in and fill those up with whatever it is they put in there. I have two young sons, a 7 and 11-year-old. And my husband, and yeah, we're just living the good life, the simple but good life. Very grateful to where I'm at right now. But yeah, definitely, I would have never thought I'd be owning a company or in construction. I'm just going to say that. But it's funny how you kind of where life takes you, and you end up where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. Now you land where you land, and so. I think a big part of that is just sort of embracing that. Why the construction industry?
Well, so I'll give a little backstory of kind of how I got here. And because it was not planned. So I have a Spanish degree and a broadcast journalism degree. I wanted to be the next Barbara Walters. Okay. And then once I graduated college, I'm like, oh, reporters make 20 grand a year and they work nights and weekends. I'm like, that doesn't sound very enticing. Right. So I'm from a small town in South Dakota. I had moved to Denver to do my internship for my broadcasting degree. Okay. And then I ended up staying here. And so I was like, well, the college bills are coming due. It's been 6 months and I got to make some money now. So I just took a job as like a temp office person in Denver. Just I'd go around to different offices, if their receptionist was out or whatever. And so the owner said, "Hey, you need to meet my sister. Her company's hiring. I think she'd like you." So I went and talked to this woman, and I ended up taking a job as a receptionist for a trade show or experiential marketing company.
Okay.
And I worked there 5 or 6 years. I moved up throughout the company. And then it was a great company, but I kind of felt I, I wasn't doing anything worthwhile with my life. I'm like, am I making an impact in the world? And I was like, I don't feel like I am. So again, did some soul searching. I'm like, well, so I quit that job, got my master's in education, and became a high school Spanish teacher for 10 years. So completely different. Did that. Really enjoyed it. The last year was not good. And one day a kid called me an effing waste of space. And I was just like, I remember sitting there being like, yeah, the joy is gone for me. I have to move on, right? I owe it to myself and to everybody here. So I was like, well, now what am I going to do? I have zero clue what I'm going to go out in the world and do. I applied for a bunch of jobs. No one called me at all, which was disheartening. And finally, the only job I got offered was as a office manager for a different construction company. So I took
Okay.
that job because I was so desperate to get out of teaching.
Yeah.
Weirdly, I ended in June of 2019. Luckily before
Oh,
COVID, thank God.
right. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
But took that on, really didn't get trained very well, just got thrown in. Man, I learned the hard way. It was brutal, but I learned that got me into commercial construction. And then in March of 2020, again, weird, like great timing, I started my company. I just kind of built it in 2020, but I actually worked both. I ran and built my company and worked that other job till April of 22. So,
Right.
and at that point, I'm like, I physically cannot do this anymore. It's so much. So then I
Yep.
stepped fully into my company, and here I am.
My goodness. And it's like because sometimes we have to be pushed into things, or sometimes we're pulled. Right. It sounds
Yeah.
like it was kind of a little bit of both.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't have ever like thought I would end up here, but I love it so much.
So okay, so you made the decision, you made the leap.
Yep.
You're there. You got your company started.
Yep.
What happened next?
So it's kind of weird to be entering into a pretty large market of Denver for a construction company. And there's very large
Right.
companies like, hi, you want to work for me? Like finding people that is like, who is this crazy lady? Like, you know,
Right.
it was interesting. But I have really attracted, thank God, the most amazing employees, honestly. And they are really good at what they do. I do things kind of differently. Because knowing that, number one, they have to be good at what they do. It's
Sure.
life or death. Like if
Yep.
someone messes up, someone could die if they're not safe or don't know what they're doing. So I have to have really good people that are experts
Mhm.
at what they do.
Yep.
So, but I also, on the other hand, got like understand these people were taking a chance on me, right? As a startup construction company. So I pay them quite a bit more than their last company paid them, but I pay them for 40 hours a week, whether they're working or not,
Okay.
because I I realize they're people, they have families that depend on them. They need to make a living, right? So sometimes we're super busy, and we've ramped it up a lot over the years. We're pretty busy, but there's been times where they're on a Wednesday hanging out at home getting paid, but I know that I have to do that to take care of them, to have
Gotcha.
to build the company I want, right?
Right.
Hmm.
Right. That says a lot about just sort of where the focus is, because really what I'm hearing from you is that you understand the strength in the people that you're working with.
Yeah, I have to take care of them. They are like, I might get the first job, but they continue to bring work. Like if they show up on a job and the client doesn't like them or they do a poor job, we're not getting another call, right?
Right.
So they're the ones that really make the impression, and will get repeat business for us.
Got you.
Hmm.
So being in the construction industry, maybe we could talk about some of the challenges and things that you've had to
Hmm.
overcome.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of in construction, there's a lot of like paperwork or different things like certified payroll or things like that, that you're like, what is this? This like people have no clue. And then they're just like, wow, this is really intense. And it's really a lot of it. I had to ask people. I don't have business training.
Mm,
The only construction training I had was that other company, which I did learn the hard way and I learned a
sure.
lot. And so that really I was able to bring that with me as knowledge. Right. But I've been lucky to find a lot of really amazing colleagues and people and a lot of women in the construction industry that have been doing this 25, 30 years, which is amazing. And they went through a lot more and more struggles than I do. They are the ones that paved the way for me, right?
Right.
But I have a couple friends that own companies that do multi-millions a year. And these
Right.
women, I'm like, I can call them and they've just completely, embraced me. And I can call them and say, hey, this happened. This situation happened. Like, what would you do? Or how should I handle this? And they really have been mentors to me and friends to call on because they've been there and done that. Right. And I'm in my much smaller stage. They're like, oh, I remember when I was at that stage, they get it. So it's been really cool it's been hard, but I know when to ask questions and ask for help and advice from people.
Right, right, right. And that's important, right? Because there's some
Mhm.
humility involved in being able to do so. Like you've got to sort of, put your ego to the side, so to
Yeah,
speak, and not be afraid to step forth and go, I don't know.
exactly. Like, can you help me? Yeah.
So I wanted to sort of talk about strategies to sort of
Hmm.
overcome these difficult periods of these when you don't know. We just sort of talked now about
Hmm.
asking for help, as I'm assuming
Hmm.
that's a good strategy. Are there
Yeah.
other things that you did to sort of get through or get by?
I mean, if, we all go through tough times, like in general, I found that now running, a business that's been growing, as an entrepreneur and just as busy people, we have to take care of ourselves. Like we have
Mm,
to, I was looking at things I was doing and I'm like, well, it's making like, for example, I quit drinking recently and believe me, I love some wine and margaritas, like more than most people. They're delicious, but I
Appreciate
was,
the honesty.
I do, they're great. And it makes me sad that but I was having like two drinks and then the next day I'd wake up with the worst headache ever until I go to bed. And I'm like, what is happening? It's
Right.
almost like I've become allergic to it. It's ridiculous. I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? I don't have
Right.
time to feel like crap the next day. And then I'm not as productive. I am dealing with a lot in life, right? And I need to take care of myself. So I'm like, you know what? That's not serving me. And just that was a personal choice. Nothing bad about if you do, but I'm like, I just can't feel like crap all day the next day.
Right.
It's
Right.
and not aligned with my goals or, having boundaries with your time. When I started my company, there's all these people, bankers and insurance people specifically that are like, hey, can I take you to coffee and see how I can support you? And they really just want my business. And they're really nice, truly. But at the beginning, I took those meetings. And now I'm like, I nicely say no because it's a waste of their time and it's a waste of my time. You
Right.
have to, you get all these invitations we do in life, right? But if it's like, if it doesn't light you up and your soul's like, yes, I would love to go to that. Number one, then you say no kindly. If
Yep.
it doesn't take your business or your personal goals forward, then nicely say no. I mean, you have to just guard your time more and guard your habits. So look at
Mm,
how are you feeling mentally and physically? And if you're not feeling well, I guarantee there's something that you're doing that's holding you back.
right. Right. And I like that a lot because if you're very clear on so a big part of that is being very clear on what you want for yourself, right? And
Yeah.
that way you're able to discern between the things
Hmm.
that, hey, this makes sense to do versus why am I going, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I sort of liken it to sort of decluttering, a form of decluttering, right? Like
Oh, totally.
because you're correct. We are going to be bombarded with
Hmm.
all sorts of things, and people will think that getting involved with this is the best thing for us, and we better
Hmm.
do it right away. Limited time offer, act now, that kind of thing, and create a sense of urgency around
Hmm.
something that really serves purpose.
Exactly. You know how you feel if you really assess your life and your habits and what you're doing and how are you spending your time? Is it draining you? Does it make you feel like crap? Who are you
Right.
hanging out around? Are they making you feel like crap, or do you leave and you're like, yes, I feel so seen and heard and they truly get me and I feel energized, right? Like you eventually have to make those decisions.
As tough as they may be, yes, you're absolutely correct.
Yes,
Because
they are not easy.
no,
Sometimes it's
no, yeah,
family. You're
that's
like,
yeah, well,
okay,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
you're just dragging me down and questioning everything I do. Then maybe don't share your dreams with that person,
right.
and it's hard, but you need to, yeah, make those unapologetic decisions.
Um, Curious about sort of family life
Hmm.
and time
Hmm.
towards the business. Is that a delicate balancing act, or are you very clear as to, this is family, this is business?
Yeah. Um, it ebbs and flows, I'll be honest, and it's not perfect, but I really feel like I've kind of found a good mix. And yes, there are some days where work demands more and you just need to suck it up and do it, right? But like so like day to day, I go to bed really early. I'm like a super boring grandma. I'm in bed by 9. I'm like, oh, maybe before. I'm like, I have no mental capacity at this point. So I go to
Mm.
bed really early. I get up at 5:30. I go to the gym first thing because in construction, my phone starts ringing at like 6 or 7. Right. I mean, it's on. So it's like if I don't get there, but while my family's still sleeping, it's not going to happen. If I say, oh, I'm going to work out this afternoon, it never
Right.
happens. I have a million excuses and I'm tired and it's like just won't happen. So I do things like that. I've last year I turned 40 and I was like, I want to go to Italy. I've never been to Italy, but I also run the entire company. And at that point, I just hired a part-time lady to help me like send invoices,
Right.
but I do literally everything. So I was in Italy for 10 days and thoroughly enjoying myself, eating so much pasta and pizza and cheese and bread. It was amazing. But then I would have to come home and work till midnight Italy time to like,
Mm.
I mean,
Wake up.
but I did it and I made it work, or I've been to Mexico numerous times while working. I'm in the pool on the phone or, I'm up skiing with my kids and then I go throw them in the pool and they can swim while I catch up. So it's not like perfect, but I've made it work where I
Right.
actually feel like I'm living my life. I'm not like missing anything. And I might have to work, a little later or get up early on a Saturday just to catch up while everybody's sleeping, but I make it work. And
Right.
to me, that's success is, it's not, if you hear these people, they're okay, they have this really successful company, quote unquote, right to
Yep.
everybody,
Yep.
but they turn around, they're working 8 hours a week. They've lost their health. Their family hates them. They're getting divorced. Their kids don't even know them. They're have zero joy in their life. Their health is horrible. I mean, and they're stressed out. That I don't want that. I
Right.
don't want a I don't want a company like that.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Well,
Or a
yeah,
life
you
like
hear,
that.
and it's funny because I think one of the notions, and I would define them as misconceptions, is that to be successful, these are things that you have to do. And I
Hmm.
will tell you, sacrificing family is top of that list.
Yeah, it is. You can make it work. And like I said, it's not perfect, but if you really put in the effort, and then when you are working, you bust it out. Like you get stuff done. You know what I mean? And you find a way to make it work and
Yeah.
actually enjoy building a company and your life at the same time.
Well, I think it's really important that we go back to, I think we're at the very top of this podcast, we sort of talked about our individual journey, right? And so
Yeah.
that's why when you say make it work, it's so fitting, because what works for you may not work for
Yeah.
someone else. There's so
Absolutely.
many different factors or situations that come into play that would influence how effective you could be doing a certain thing versus another.
Hmm.
And so
Totally.
I think the real focus really goes back to you yourself and what you need to be to get through the
Hmm.
day in this moment.
Yeah, and it's really doing the work to figure out who you are. What do you need? What do you
Hmm.
need to do to feel really good and thrive? What do you maybe need to cut out of your life? Yeah, I mean, what are your non-negotiables? What are your things that you're are so important to you that they must come before everything else?
Right.
So it's
Right.
like you have to do the work to know yourself really well and then put the boundaries in place and the habits in place to get there.
Got you. Got you.
Mhm.
What would you say was the most difficult obstacle you had to overcome?
Well, I'm going to share two, if that's
Okay.
okay. And I'll share two, and here's why. So one of them, almost 20 years ago, I was studying abroad in South America, in
Okay.
Ecuador.
Okay.
And I was by myself, and I'd been there the year before with a university group. And so I went back and I was studying Spanish. And my professor down there had drugged me, raped me, and I woke up alone in an abandoned house by myself. I said,
Oh,
yeah. So and I had no clue. There was just on mattress on the floor. I had no clue where I was, and I kept trying to get out, and I was getting electrocuted out of the door for like a half hour. Finally, I escape. And this is just ridiculous to me that I did this, but um I it was like the next morning, and it was school time. So I found a taxi, went back to school in the morning wearing
right.
the same clothes I was wearing the day before, and I had to look him in the face. And I acted like nothing happened. I said nothing. I did not tell my parents, friends. I didn't tell the principal, anyone there. Like, to me, I literally it was so traumatic, and I could have been killed,
Yes.
and it was like I shoved it down, locked it, threw away the key. Nothing. I didn't want to think. It never saw the light of day till recently. And actually I wrote about it in my book. And so back then, in my early 20s, didn't I had never experienced that trauma.
Right.
But I didn't do any work. I didn't know myself. I didn't work on healing, right? So fast forward to almost 20 years later, like last year, December of 23,
Hmm.
I was 2.5 years into a really, really horrible lawsuit, like just soul sucking, hellish, like the worst thing I've ever experienced in my life, even worse than what happened 20 years ago to me, because this went on day after day for 2.5 years. I was living in fear. I was having all these lies said about me, waking up covered in hives, waking up, hearing my kids go, Mommy, when are we losing our house? Mommy, here's $12. You need it more than I do.
Oh, wow.
Spending hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal fees to just fight this these things that were said
Yep.
about me.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I've never experienced that level of just deep depression and just horrible heaviness. But now, knowing myself, I remember one day I woke up and I was like, I am not okay. Like, I didn't want to die, but I didn't want to live. And I
Right.
was so bad. And I remember my family was still sleeping. I texted my girlfriend, who's a therapist, and I was like, I'm not okay. Like, I need help. She's like, I got you. And I started going to therapy with her, relied heavily on her. And and then I was like, okay, well, look around. What am I doing? Am I drinking? Cut that out. Get out in the sunshine. Go move your body. Cancel those meetings. Like, who cares?
Right.
Or those events you're going to just show your face. Like, your soul doesn't need that right now. You need to
Hmm.
take care of yourself, or you're not going to make it through this.
Right.
Right. And I know everyone has gone through, we all go through hard things.
Yes.
Adversity is the guarantee of the human existence, right? But it's like how we feel when we're in it, it's going to break us, that we can't
Right.
get out.
Right.
But you can, but you have to dig. You have to dig out and know, and like take care of your body and your mind, or it's just the experience is so much harder on you, right?
Right.
Yeah. And honestly, those things were very traumatic. But I wouldn't change them, because I am who I am today because I went through it.
Mm, mm. Yeah, no, I should. Our experiences definitely have a way of absolutely, yes, shaping us and
Mm-hmm.
giving us perspective and understanding and even fortifying us.
Yep.
Just going through them in those moments, they are just difficult. They are challenging. They're hard. They
Mm-hmm.
don't feel nice. All of the above. Like it's
Yep.
nothing about those experiences are good. Um, the trauma from any of those I mean, I guess the one from 20 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
even I guess even the recent lawsuit, did they appear in other areas of your life, like before you realize I got to deal with it? And how so?
I think the trauma from 20 years ago kind of started coming up in the lawsuit. It's kind of when I'd be laying in bed at night and it'd like pop in my brain, and I'd start being like, why did you put yourself in that situation? How did you let that happen
Right.
to you? And I'm like,
Right.
no, no, I didn't do anything. Like,
Right.
that was on him. That wasn't on me. Don't start getting this mind
Right.
game, right? Like,
Right.
where we
Right.
make it that it was our fault or whatever. But I feel like those situations I felt powerless, right? Someone had taken my power and had traumatized me. And so it kind of started coming up in that way. And really I worked through the lawsuit just by kind of journaling, and I wrote about both of the experiences in my book pretty extensively. And
Mhm.
really it was just healing for me. It was working through putting those feelings into words and using them as healing.
Right. And I think that's the approach you have to. I think
Yeah.
when we go through things, and one of the big parts of the healing process is acknowledging that they happened,
Yeah.
right? But
And
when
that they don't have power over you anymore.
correct,
Like,
correct,
nope, I'm taking my power back. Yes, it happened, but
yeah,
like it doesn't define me.
that's right, that's right. And
Hmm.
so when you start saying things like, hey, why did I put myself in a situation, or why did it happen?
Yeah.
You're going down a different road, and that road doesn't
Hmm.
lead to healing, right? It leads to
No.
more just self beating up yourself, right?
Yeah, that's not helpful at all. And I know so many people have been victimized in different ways, and it's why do our brains go to that? It's just
Mhm.
crazy to me. Like, it's not your fault. Get
Yes.
rid of the shame and guilt, but that is just what we naturally think and feel. It's sad to me.
Yes, yes. So coming on the other side,
Hmm.
what would you say is the most empowering thing you've left with from those experiences?
Hmm. I feel like coming out of that, I I'm wrote my book, which is it's a bunch of short stories of things I've gone through in life, and those
Okay.
are in it with a bunch of other. But and I never wanted to write a book, but it's somehow that was meant to be, right? But it's by writing all of those, my goal now, and I'm speaking also, but it's like putting myself out there, being real vulnerable and being like, I'm a hot mess, but I'm trying my best and I'm trying to learn. And I just want to give people permission to own their story, say that life is hard sometimes. Being a mom's hard, being a business owner is hard, being this is hard, right? But we feel society makes us feel like we have to be perfect. We have to appear perfect. So we actually don't have real connection with others until we say, man, I was crying in the bathroom today because my kids were doing this and that. It's like being able to say, yeah, I'm kind of a mess, but I'm trying my best. This is hard, and connect with other people, and that's what I want people to feel seen and not alone and feel
Mhm.
like we're all in this together, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's a big part where we really got to give grace to ourselves, and I'm hearing that loud and
Totally.
clear when you're
Yes.
going through that, especially that self dialogue, because that's where the
Mm-hmm.
conversations in our head can be brutal, or they can be
Yeah.
a very uplifting and wonderful thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
depending on how it's approached. And
Mm-hmm.
I think if there's that grace that's applied to our vernacular and how we say things, and
Yeah.
what we think of ourselves, I think
Yep.
that will help us get through those difficult periods that much sooner.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah. And we just need to just be real and share what you're going through, because I
Right.
guarantee other people are too. And they just need to hear it from somebody and be like, oh, it's okay to feel this way. Yes, it is. Right.
So writing a book, that wasn't something you saw yourself doing.
No, not at all. Like it
So
was not even on. People are like, oh, that was on my bucket list. I'm like, not mine. And I went to I joined a women's entrepreneur group in Denver, and I went to this brunch because I love brunch. And I was like, I almost didn't go because I saw the keynote speaker was a woman who owned a publishing house. And I'm like, I don't want to write a book. Why would it,
right.
but I'm gonna go for the brunch. So I went and I
That's
just
called the hook, right? That's called the
it
hook.
is. I love brunch. And I went and I was like, okay, well, I love this woman, her energy. And then I talked to her after and I'm like, I think I could do that. And at that point, I had no clue like what it would even be about. And
Right.
I just sat down, and it's funny, the stories just poured out of me. And then I saw a clear, like, kind of clear direction of, okay, what is tying each of these stories together? Some are really intense, like I've shared, some are lighter, and some are kind of silly, just stupid stuff I've done in life. So people can read it and be like, wow, yep, okay. I feel more normal now.
Right. Right. No, I love it. I love it. And give us the title of the book there, Chelsea.
Yeah, it's called Real Vibes Only: Unapologetic Confessions of a Hot Mess Mompreneur. So there's all kinds
Uh,
of stuff in there. Yeah. Yeah. And I just, that kind of, I think that's what my soul was meant to do now, to put out in the world. And now I just feel called to speak to those, to, like we said, just allow people to own their story, feel connected, so that's kind of, I'm doing more speaking this year, which I love. And I feel very grateful to do that because people just need to feel like understood and not alone.
Right. Mm-hmm. So amazing. So amazing.
Thank
Chelsea,
you.
this is wonderful. For listeners, where if they wanted to connect with you or get a copy of your book, where can we send them?
I would say the best website, or the best place, is my website. It's just chelseahusum.com. There's info there about events or my book or speaking or my social links, any of that. And truly, if I love connecting with people, if you're feeling alone or you're going through something, I would love to be a person that if you need a support, please reach out to me, honestly.
Amazing. Well, I appreciate you making yourself availing yourself in that way for individuals. I think that's when we sort of talk about, moving through challenge or difficult periods, and you talked to about having that support system, how important that is. And so, you're living your words, no question about that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, and first of all, congratulations on realizing your journey again.
Thank you.
We are on this our own path, right? And you've definitely realized yours, and you're doing it in a really, really, really big way, and probably an industry that you never saw yourself in, which is amazing too. So congratulations, Chelsea. Yes.
Thank you so much.
And I appreciate you being here, and all the best.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. I appreciate it.
The conversation with Chelsea reminds us that life's challenges can lead to unexpected opportunities. By embracing change, taking risks, and staying true to ourselves, we can pave the way to our own version of success. Chelsea's journey is a testament to the power of resilience and the importance of following our dreams despite the obstacles that we have to face. Now, to connect with Chelsea or learn more about her and her inspiring story, be sure to check out the show notes for contact details. You can reach out to Chelsea directly to get insights and inspiration for your own journey of personal growth and success. Of course, she also is an author of a book, and Real Vibes Only is the name of her book. That's also out, and be sure to snag a copy of that. Thank you for tuning into the Audacious Living podcast. If you've enjoyed today's episode with Chelsea, please like, follow, and share. That will, of course, help us continue to grow and inspire others on their journey to living their best audacious lives. Stay tuned for more empowering conversations and stories of resilience on the Audacious Living podcast. Thank you so much. Until next time, stay safe, be kind, show love to one another, and be audacious.
You've been listening to the Audacious Living podcast, hosted by Audley Stevenson. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, be audacious.